10 interesting stories how people got money. Number 10. This is Bob Kitts. He is a builder from Ohio. One day, he was hired to renovate the house of an old friend. They agreed on the price and Bob started his job. After a few hours, he began tearing down a wall and soon after, he discovered a locked box. Upon opening it, he was surprised to find $189,000 inside. He immediately called the owner of the house, but she had no idea that the box or the money was there. They celebrated the moment and took pictures together with the find. However, soon after, Bob wanted 40% of the money. Shocked by this, Amanda, the new owner of the house, refused to pay him and offered only 10%. Bob, knowing that the money was not hers, decided to sue her, invoking a finder's keeper's law. This is where things started to get worse. The dispute became public and attracted the interest of the descendants of the home's previous owners, who claimed ownership of the money. There were 21 of them. After a few months, the court decided to give Bob, who found the money, only $3,500. The rest was split among all 21 descendants. The most surprising part is that the actual owner, Amanda, who didn't want to give Bob 40%, ended up with $0. Number 9. This is Vicky Umadou from California. What she discovered inside a used couch that she got for free left her speechless. Vicky was looking for furniture for her new home. During her online search, she found a couch that was listed as completely free along with a matching chair. All she had to do was take care of the transport. Without much thought, she contacted the owner, who told her that a deceased family member had owned it and that he was trying to get rid of it. Happy with this, she took it and brought it into her new home. But after a few days, she started noticing that every time she sat on the chair, she felt something unusual in the cushion. After figuring out how to open it, she found something inside that was very heart-touching for her. She immediately called the previous owner and asked if he knew something was hidden inside the chair, but he had no idea what she was talking about. He came to Vicky's home immediately to see why she was so emotional and what she had found. Vicky showed him that inside the cushion were envelopes filled with a total of $36,000 in cash. The owner was amazed and offered Vicky $2,200 for her honesty. Let's be honest, would you do the same? Number 8. This is Emil Knodell, a retired man from Texas. He discovered something incredible inside a used dresser that he bought for only $100, and it's surprising that no one noticed it before. One day, while going home, he noticed an estate sale from a man who had passed away and decided to stop and look for something he could use in his home. He saw an old dresser that caught his interest. After negotiating the price with the seller, he agreed to buy it for $100. He loaded it into his truck, but while doing so, he heard noises from inside the dresser as if something was forgotten inside. He opened all the drawers but found nothing. Confused, he started driving with the dresser loaded in the back. However, every time he braked or made a turn, he heard a noise like something was sliding inside the drawers. He stopped and decided to inspect the dresser more closely. He noticed something that looked like a hidden door at the bottom drawer. After figuring out how to open it, he found old gold and silver coins and a lot of jewelry with diamonds. However, when he discovered Civil War medals among the items, he decided to return everything to the family. Later, the owner informed him that the items were worth more than $15,000. Number 7. This $7.4 million treasure of gold coins was found in the garage of a poor man who had only $200 in his bank account when he died. This is Walter Samesco, a reclusive and enigmatic man from Nevada, whom no one really knew. He was found dead in his home after neighbors started noticing a strange smell coming from his house. Everyone thought he was a poor, lonely man who never talked to anyone, and no one reported him missing. A few months later, a cleaning company was hired to take care of his house, where they found an enormous treasure of gold coins hidden in ammo boxes in his garage. The trove was worth over $7.4 million. It turned out that his mother had started collecting these coins, but after her death, it was unclear if Samesco knew about the $1 million treasure in his garage. Officials had trouble trying to find someone who could inherit the fortune until they discovered he had a cousin, Arlene McDans, a substitute teacher from California. Despite the fact that she never knew or spoke to him, the county clerk's office sold the coins and gave her $7.4 million, minus about $800,000 in inheritance taxes and other expenses. Number 6. This man discovered something in his backyard that left him speechless. This is Matthew Emanuel from Staten Island. He had lived in his new house for more than 4 years and never knew that something very unexpected was hidden in his backyard. In fact, he always saw it, but thought it was just a random electrical box under the trees. One day, he decided to call a landscaper to replace the old trees for better privacy in his yard. Right after the landscaper started working, he moved the mysterious box and discovered what it actually was. They dragged it with a small excavator to a better place where they could inspect it. Soon they realized that it was a rusted bulletproof safe. After a few hours, they finally opened it, and as expected, it was full of gold and cash. But there was also a letter inside with an address, and to his surprise, it was the address of the neighbor's house just a few feet away. So Matthew returned it to his neighbors with all the $50,000 in cash and $38,000 worth of valuables inside. It turned out that 7 years ago, a burglar had stolen the neighbor's safe, but because it was too heavy, he just dropped it in Matthew's backyard and never came back. Matthew says that all he got as a reward from his neighbors was just a big thank you. Tell us in the comments, what would you do in this case? Number 5. This couple received $120,000 by mistake, but what they did next was not very smart. This is Robert and Tiffany from Pennsylvania. One morning, Robert checked his bank account and saw it showed more than $120,000. At first, they thought it might be an error, but after a few hours, their bank account still showed the same amount of money. They decided to pay one of their bills to see what would happen, and it worked. They thought about calling the bank to ask, but decided to try paying another bill instead, and it worked again. So they decided to pay all of their bills, bought a new SUV and a new camper, and even gave away some of the money to friends who needed it. 1 week after they spent all of the money, the bank called and told them that the money had been mistakenly routed to their account, and they now owed the bank $120,000. Shocked by this, the couple decided not to answer the bank's calls anymore. The police were notified, and the couple was arrested. The bank never got their money back, and the couple was sentenced to 7 years of probation. Number 4. This woman bought a dusty white bag for $995, but after discovering what it was used for, she sold it for $1.9 million. This is Nancy Lee Carlson from Illinois. She is a collector and space enthusiast who always searches for new items for her collection. One day, she saw a dusty white bag in an online government auction. The bag immediately caught her attention, and she believed it could be worth more because she recognized it as possibly being from a historical event. Her first offer was $995, well above the current bid, so the bag was sold to her. After receiving the bag, she needed to prove its authenticity, so she sent it to a government agency for inspection. 1 year later, the agency confirmed that the bag was authentic and had been mistakenly put up for auction. It rightfully belonged to the people of the United States. Carlson filed a lawsuit to demand the return of her property, and the court ruled in her favor. The bag was returned to her. It turned out that the agency involved was NASA, and the bag had been used to transport moon rock samples from the Apollo 11 mission. She later sold it for $1.9 million in a private auction to an anonymous buyer. It is believed that NASA bought it back. Number 3. This man stole $120 million from Google and Facebook, and how he did it is pretty simple. This is Valdas Rimasauskas. He's just a regular guy who had an idea on how he might earn some extra money. His idea actually worked. He stole $98 million from Facebook and $23 million from Google, and he managed to steal this money within 2 years without being caught. So one day, while he was scrolling through the internet, he came across an article about a big tech company that had just started collaborating with Google and Facebook. He saw an opportunity and decided to give it a try. He went straight to the business registration center and registered a company with almost the same name as the real tech company. He created the necessary company emails and sent Google and Facebook a fake contract. He asked them to sign the new contract, and surprisingly they did. He began sending them invoices for items they had never used or purchased, and no one verified these invoices. They simply transferred the money. After 2 years, Google noticed this and realized they had fallen into a scam. Valdas was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but had to pay only $26 million in restitution, so he ended up with about $94 million in profit. Number 2. This man bought an old picture for $2, but after finding out who was in the picture, he sold it for $5 million. This is Randy Gajaro from California. He loves to collect old coins and pictures. So one day, while driving home, he sees an antique store he has never been to before. He decides to stop and check if he can find something he likes to add to his collection. After a few minutes, he found 3 old pictures he liked and agreed to buy all of them for only $2. He returned home with 3 new pictures for his collection, but while setting them in place, one of the pictures stood out to him. After taking a closer look, he believed he saw a recognizable face in that photo, but he was not sure. It took him and many experts 5 years to authenticate the picture, with each person in it being identified. They even managed to trace the house where the picture was taken, so there was no more doubt about the picture's authenticity. As a result, Garrow auctioned it off for $5 million. Previously, only a single picture of him was known to exist, making this an extraordinary discovery. The man in the picture was the legendary and elusive outlaw of the Wild West, Billy the Kid, along with all his gang members. Before revealing number 1, please like and subscribe. Number 1. This man discovered an infinite money glitch. This is Dan Saunders. One night at 2 a.m., he stopped by an ATM to take out some cash. He transferred $200 from his credit card to his debit card. Although the transaction failed, he checked his debit account and saw that the transfer had actually gone through and he could withdraw the money. He tried to transfer another $500 and the same thing happened. Over the next few days, he realized that transactions made between 1 and 3 a.m. always resulted in the same issue, and it took the bank 1 full day to reflect the transfers on his credit card. So he devised a plan. He transferred $10,000 to his debit account, and then the next night before the transaction appeared, he transferred another $30,000. In the morning, the bank charged him $10,000 for the first transfer, but this didn't matter because his account now had $30,000. All he had to do was stay 1 day ahead of the bank. He continued this for more than 160 days and ended up spending over $1.6 million. However, he began to feel guilty. He eventually told the bank about the glitch and was sentenced to only 1 year in prison.